First, I want to welcome everyone to this special event to honor and remember BAKTASH ABTIN, an Iranian poet who died on January 8 in Evin prison because of untreated COVID, which now everybody calls it silence killing by Iranian government. BAKTASH ABTIN was born in 1974 in Shahr Rey in Iran. He has published 3 collections of poetry. In addition to his work as a poet, he has been involved in other activities like being a Pen Iran and talking about freedom of speech. And he was an activist against capital punishment. He also produced numerous feature films and short films as an assistant director. His first independent film, The Solar Eclipse, was released in 2005. Since 2013, he has been indicted 3 times for his peaceful activism. Among other things, ABTIN has spoken out against censorship and advocated for freedom of expression and the abolition of the death penalty. Because of this, ABTIN was sentenced to 5 years in prison in May 2019 for propaganda against the state and conspiracy against nation security. He has been serving his sentence when he died on January 8. I think I'm gonna stop it here. Lisbit is gonna show us about Payne. He got, ABTIN got a recognition by Payne America on, I think it was late 2021, because when they arrested ABTIN, they arrested 2 more poets, Reza Khandan and Bajan, and those 2 poets are still in Evin prison. So what happened to ABTIN? ABTIN was in prison, and then he gets really, really sick, but they don't take him from prison. And as we see, he was shackled on the bed. Finally, his condition gets so bad, they take him to hospital, prison hospital, of course. And he was so sick that they had to put him on induced coma, and he never recovered. He died. It's a very sad situation, and Iranian people are really sad. Lisbit, would you please show that from Payne, or did you already show it?
I did. Did people see the screen page of the Payne Award? Okay. And did you also see the photograph of him in shackles on the bed?
You guys saw that? Okay, okay. So we are just gonna go ahead. We are still waiting for a few more people to join us. Hi, Nina. The first reader is gonna be Lisbit, because Lisbit is hosting the Zoom, and also, you know, anyways. Lisbit Bailey is a poet and a member of Revolutionary Poets Brigade. She is an organizer, and she kindly hosted the Zoom events for us the last 2 years. And we all really appreciate for that. Oh, good, Dariush is in. So I'm gonna read, these poems are very short. I'm gonna read the first poem by BAKTASH, and then Lisbit will read the English, and then we will continue like that. برق تاریکی گفتم خدا حافظ چشمانش و آستینش در تاریکی برق میزد. عشق همه چیز را خیس میکند. No, Lisbit.
Dark electricity. I said goodbye. Her eyes and her sleeve was shining in the dark. Love soaks up everything.
And then the second poem that Lisbit will read. This poem, actually, she's going to say it, dedicated to Muhammad Mukhtari. He was another poet that was killed by Iranian government. تقدیم به محمد مختاری، گریه تر از لبخند excuse me. برگ تو افتادن پاییزی از درخت بود، پاییز شاعرانه غمگین، دستی که گلوی تو را در خیابان گم کرد، تو را جاودان کرد. و تنها چیزی که در تو باطل شد، شناسنامه و کوپن برنج در جیبت بود. Back to you, Lisbit.
Mark crying, then smiles. Your leaves were a fall from an autumn tree, poetic autumn of sadness, the hand that lost your throat in the street. He made you immortal. And all that has been undone in you is all that has been revoked. Birth certificate and a rice voucher in your pocket.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Lisbit. You're not going to read any poem of yours, I'm assuming, right? You told me that, yes. Everybody has 5 minutes. You can read anything you like. You know, you use your 5 minutes. Our next guest is our lovely Nina Serrano. Nina Serrano is a California poet. She produces monthly radio programs about literature and Latin public affairs on KPFA in Berkeley, California, and OSCAT Radio in Vallejo, California. Her literary dialogues with Nina Serrano, this is the name of the program, is a series, can be found on her YouTube channel, and her contact information, ninaserrano.com. I will read this first poem, Nina, and then you can continue, start with the first translation. چقدر طعم تو را دارد شرابی که هیچ وقت سر نکشیدم، و چقدر واژه غمگین که تهنشین شده در لیوانی که روبروی من است، و چقدر درد دارد نقشی که روی دیوار دریا دارد ولی از جایش تکان نمیخورد. جزیره بی تو غمی منحنی است که روی دست دریا باد کرده، و من پنهانتر از همه زیر پونز به تو فکر میکنم.
Thank you, Mahnaz.
You're welcome.
It's an honor to read these translations of BAKTASH's poetry by you, and so fascinating to hear you read it, to hear it in its original.
Thank you very much. You're welcome. Good to have you.
Thank you. It was your taste, the wine I've never had, and how sad the words are that settle in a cup in front of me, and how painful it is, a map on the wall that has sea on it but doesn't move. Island without you, it's a sad curve, inflated on the hands of the sea, and I, most hidden of all, under the tack, thinking of you.
از زخمهای بزرگ خط کوچکی باقی میماند، و از چشمهای تو چه بگویم، خاطره آرنجهای تو بر تخت من گود افتاده. Go ahead, Nina.
Thank you, Mahnaz. Island without you, it's a sad curve, inflated on the hands of the sea, and I, most hidden of all, under the tack, thinking of you. And from your eyes, what should I say? The memory of your elbows on my bed has a deep mark.
Bravo. Thank you so much, Nina. Thank you very much. Our next guest is supposed to be Scott Bird, but I don't see him here. So we will go to Christina Brown. Christina is a writer and visual artist. She often writes about what people do for love. سیاه یعنی شب. سیاه یعنی شب و کوچه تاریک، یعنی صدای روشن تو بعد از خداحافظی. من باشم یا نباشم، هر شب رویای من در این کوچه تو را میبوسد. سفید یعنی بیمارستان و پرهای پنکه لاغر، یعنی دنیا دور سرم میچرخد. تو نیستی که شبم را پاشویه کنی و من در ملفهای سفید خودم را به مرگ زدم. کریستینا. Go ahead, Christina. Christina.
Black means night. Black means night and a dark alley. Means your bright voice as we say goodbye. Whether I will be or not be, every evening my dreams will kiss you in this alley. White means hospital, and the thin blades of the fan mean the world spins around my head. You are not here to wash the feet of my night, and in the white bed sheets, I pretend to be dead.
Thank you very much, Christina. Are you going to read one of your own poems or?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Yes.
This is a piece that I wrote for BAKTASH. Speak. He told the truth about those in power. He defended the right of others to speak. I look at his picture, his warm smile and intelligent eyes, and his wild curly hair and his smooth face, now acts of rebellion in his country run by the clerics. Many of his curls shine with silver, even though I know he was only 48 years old. Yes, when I really looked at his picture for the first time, I already know he is dead. Murdered by the dictators and their goons, the sprawling security apparatus of the Iranian state. Now is a convenient time for dictators everywhere to kill their enemies, expose them to the pandemic while in detention, then provide inadequate medical care and hide the facts.
Thank you very much.
I believe that's how they murdered BAKTASH. It is a challenge for his fellow prisoners to prove from detention their stories of his death are true. They are on a hunger strike, fight from the inside what dictators fear most. BAKTASH's words are flashing around the planet, being translated from Farsi to other languages. We must amplify the voices the dictators try to silence, repeat the stories the dictators don't want told, not let the killers get away with murder, pretend to be ethical, pose as saints and good people. We must resist, must speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for writing poem for BAKTASH.
Thank you.
He would
I'm
be
honored.
happy to know. He would be
Yeah,
happy
this
to know
honor.
that. Our next guest is Barbara Paschke. She is a very famous translator in the city of San Francisco and a member of Revolutionary Poets Brigade. Has been involved in translation for many years. Her publication includes Volcan Riverbed of Memory and Clamor of Innocence, and few more actually collections. It's a lot to name here, but you guys can Google search if someone doesn't know Barbara Paschke, it spells P-A-S-C-H-K-E, and know more about our lovely Barbara. I am going to read the poem first poem that Barbara going to read. دلم مثل صدای رودخانه شور میزند. دلم مثل صدای رودخانه شور میزند و دستهای تو که نمیدانند چگونه عاشق شوند. و من که باید از کلمه پایین بریزم که بگویم چگونه چطور و فالگیر بیاید و در چشمهای من دنبال نامی که سالها من استکان چای و قالیچه روی تخت منتظریم. منو استکان چای و قالیچه روی تخت منتظریم. Go ahead, Barbara.
My heart is anxious like the sound of a river, and your hands that don't know how to fall in love. I have to drop down from the word to say how, in what way. The fortune teller comes, and in my eyes search for a name that for years a cup of tea, and the little rug on my bed are waiting.
از زخم‌های بزرگ خط کوچکی باقی میماند و از چشم‌های تو چه بگویم. خاطره آرنج‌های تو بر تخت من گود افتاده. Okay.
So beautiful to hear the Farsi first. Of the deep wounds, a small line remains. Of your eyes, what can I say? The memory of your elbows left an imprint on my bed.
Thank you very much, Barbara. Do you have anything else to read?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
I wanted to read this poem because it just seemed, it was a translation from a Spanish poet, Juan Goytisolo, and it just is for all the prisoners. And here we are, yet again. I'll just, to save time, I'll just read it in English if that's okay.
Yes.
At this very moment, there's a man who is suffering, a man tortured for nothing more than loving freedom. I don't know where he lives, what language he speaks, the color of his skin, his name, but at this very moment, as your eyes read my little poem, that man exists, screams. One can hear him cry out like a hunted animal while he bites his lip to not betray his friends. Do you hear? Hands tied, a man alone cries out. He exists somewhere. I said, alone? Don't you feel like I do the pain in his body? Repeated in yours? Doesn't your blood gush from the senseless blows? No one is alone. Now, at this very moment, it's the same for you and me. They have tied our hands.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And now we are gonna have Dariush Memar and John Curl back to back, because John will read the English version of the poem and Dariush will read the Farsi poem. But introduction, Dariush Memar is a poet and a literary critic. He was born in Abadan, 1979 in Iran. Actually, this is the year of revolution. Dariush holds a master's degree in psychology, published 10 collections of poetry, 2 collections of literary criticism. He is editor-in-chief of Armaghan and Rozaneh Literary Magazine, editorial member of and author of various literary journals from 2001 to today. Member of Writers Association of Iran from 2009 to 2019. Member of Iranian Writers Association in Exile and Penn Society in Exile from 2019. Dariush was a very close friend of BAKTASH for 25 years. He will talk about it a little bit, and I also talked a little bit in introduction. But Dariush will explain later what happened to BAKTASH. He knows more than me because, you know, he is in contact with the family and more friends in Iran. But now I have to introduce, I happily introduce John Curl, is the author of Yoga Sutras of Fidel Castro, Revolutionary Alchemy, and A Scorched Bird. His translation of Inca, Maya, and Aztec poets collected in Ancient American Poets. This is really, really amazing that John actually speaks some of these languages. It is unbelievable. He is one of the founders of Indigenous People Day. His new poetry collection, Rainbow Weather and Poems for Environmental Healing, will be published in spring of 2022. He is a member of Revolutionary Poets Brigade and a very important member of Revolutionary Poets Brigade. So we will start with Dariush reading the poem, and then in Farsi, and John will follow by English. داریوش جان شروع کن لطفاً شعر تابلوی عقده رو بخون. بله مرسی.
ممنون از شما.
Welcome.
در پیراهن من تنهای بسیاری است که هر روز در خیابانهای شما تکرار می شوند. 7 خطم، نستعلیقم، سلسم، شکستم، من انحنای کمر تمامی شمایم و خط دیگر آن اتوبوس که هر روز از جاده‌ای می‌گذرد منم. نه، باید نقش دهانی را بازی کنم که از حنجره‌هایی روشن برخاستند. شما و خودم را دعوت می‌کنم به تقوا و توصیه می‌کنم خفه شو، با خودم هستم. بگذار این نقش را به خدای خودم واگذار کنم. بارالها، ریاکارم و اگر کوسه نبودم حتما با ریش‌هایی انبوه نماینده چند میلیون خط خمیده بودم. هستم پروردگارا، تنها تو میدانی که من نبوغ خودم بودم، اما نشد که در هیچ عکسی با حروف درشت حرف بزنم. بوغ خودم بودم و هر کس جلوی من بود نفتی نشی. عمو این گونه بود که من در وطنم نقطه پررنگی بودم که هر روز رنگ پریده تر می شدم. در دستان من همیشه خودکاری است که انگشتان ماسیده بر جای می گذارد و بر لبانم همیشه شعری که کلمات حرام زاده در آستین دارد. من پیامبری جوانم در تابلوی عقده‌ای. Thank you.
Thank you. Dariush now is going to talk about how BAKTASH died, and then we will go, I apologize from John. Then John, you will read the poem after he asked to talk. داریوش بگو چی شد مرگ بکتاش؟ میخواستی بگی یه چیزی.
من میخواستم در چند کلمه مرگ دوست شاعرم بکتاش آبتین رو برای شما توصیف بکنم.
Okay. He wants to in few sentences explain about BAKTASH's death because he was his dear friend. Okay.
بکتاش به خاطر درخواست آزادی و ایستادگی برابر سانسور نشدن شعرهاش به 6 سال زندان توسط جمهوری اسلامی محکوم شد.
BAKTASH was arrested because of he was asking so the government stopped censoring poets and he publish his poems, and they didn't, and they were harassing him, and that's the reason they arrested BAKTASH. Yes.
بکتاش صدای بلند تمام شاعران و نویسندگان سرکوب شده ایران بود. بکتاش صدای بلند تمام شاعران و نویسندگان سرکوب شده در ایران بود.
BAKTASH was actually like the messenger from all the poets in Iran that they were killed or they've been arrested or they're already in prison. Actually, the situation in Iran is so bad that I myself already, I had 3-4 books all these years that they wanted to publish it, but they put ban on it. They didn't publish it. But BAKTASH was living in Iran and he was a poet. He needed to publish his books. But they are really have severe censor on freedom of speech. So he was fighting and he was actually very brave man. I don't know how he wasn't even scared a little bit. He was truly a brave poet. داریوشان گفتم که چقدر شجاع بوده. واقعا شجاع بوده بکتاش. بله. بگو.
من یک جمله میخوام از بکتاش برای شما بگم. یک جمله از قاتلان بکتاش بعد از اینکه اون رو کشتن، جمله‌ای که به دوستان اون در زندان گفتن، و یک توصیف میخوام از بکتاش بکنم وقتی که کشته شد.
So he's going to say a sentence from BAKTASH, a sentence from BAKTASH, the killers, that they told this sentence to other poet prisoners in prison in Iran, and then he's going to say something from himself, Dariush. Go ahead, so 3 sentences.
بکتاش زمانی که محکوم شد به زندان گفت که من حاضرم جان عزیزم رو در جوانی برای آزادی فدا کنم، اما روبروی استبداد کوتاه نیام.
When they arrested BAKTASH, he said, I am willing to pay with my young life for freedom of speech, and I'm never going to stop fighting for it. I will give my life for freedom of speech. So this is what BAKTASH said. And then what did their killer said? بفرمایید.
من میدونم که برای شما باور کردنی نیست این چیزی که الان براتون میگم.
I know you won't believe the sentence I'm just going to say. You won't believe what they said.
اما این در کشور من اتفاق افتاده.
But this happened in my country.
بکتاش در حالی کشته شد که 20 روز دست و پاش روی تخت بیمارستان و در بهداری زندان با زنجیر بسته شده بود.
BAKTASH died in a situation that, as you saw in the picture, he was shackled in a hospital bed for 20 days. What is a poet going to do? Is he a killer? Is he what?
بکتاش در اثر زنجیر پاش چنان کبود شده بود که 1 هفته در حالی که بیهوش بود همسرش با کرم جای کبودی پاش رو مجبور بود بماله.
His feet was so bruised and wounded from shackles that while he was on a hospital bed, his wife had to put some medication, give massage, and just take care gently of that skin, of that wound and bruises.
قاتلان بکتاش آبتین بعد از اینکه اونو کشتن بازجوهاش به دوستانش در زندان گفتند ما 170 ایرانی رو تو هواپیما رو هوا با موشک زدیم کشتیم و هیچ اتفاقی نیفتاد.
I hope all you guys know that in 2020, I think, 20, Iran shut down a passenger Ukrainian airplane and 170 people died. So the killers go to cell and tells other prisoners, other poets that what is, we killed 170 people and no one could say anything. So it's easy for us to kill any one of you and nothing will happen.
و بکتاش فقط یک نفره که ما کشتیمش و باز هم هیچ اتفاقی نمیفته.
And BAKTASH was only one person we killed. We will kill more and nothing will happen. Nothing. This is what the killers said to other poets already in prison. Oh my God, it's so hard.
و امروز بیش از 10 زندانی در زندانهای جمهوری اسلامی، زندانی سیاسی و نویسنده به خاطر بکتاش آبتین اعتصاب غذا کردند.
And today 10 poets in Iranian prison are on strike because of what happened to BAKTASH.
و شب گذشته 21 زندانبان این اعتصابی‌ها رو کتک زدن.
And last night, actually, 21 members of the guards in the prison, they started beating and, you know, whatever to all those 10 poets and writers in prison right now.
مسیر کشتار در کشور من متوقف نشده و بکتاش یکی از قربانیان این کشتاره.
Dariush says the killing of intellectuals, poets, writers hasn't been stopped in my country, and BAKTASH was only one of many, and it will continue until international voices can do something about these killings in Iran. Actually, Dariush called BAKTASH's killing silent killing because they didn't use bullet, but they just killed him by not treating him, not taking care of him. If you guys want, you can go to PEN America on their website. They talk about BAKTASH, you know. So thank you very much, Dariush. Thank you so much. It was honor to have you. خیلی ممنون، افتخار دادی به ما امروز تیم برنامه شرکت کردی. یک دنیا ازت سپاسگزارم. حالا اون شعری که شما خوندی، جان کرل اون شعر رو میخونه. John, go ahead, John.
Inferiority Sign by BAKTASH ABTIN. In my shirt, many bodies are repeated every day on your streets. I'm the curvature on the back of all of you, and the other line of that bus that crosses the road every day. No, we have to play the role of a mouth that has risen from bright larynxes. I invite you and myself to piety, and I recommend that you shut up. I'm talking to myself. Let's leave this role to my God, Majesty God, Allah. I am guile, and if I hadn't been a beardless man, indeed, with massive beards, I would be representative of a few million curved lines. Am. Oh Lord, only you know I was my genius, but it didn't work out to talk with large letters in any picture. I was my own whistle, and whoever was in front of me. That's how, in my homeland, I've been the toned spot that I turn paler every day. In my hands, it's always a pen that leaves melted fingers behind. And on my lips, there is always a poem that has forbidden words in its sleeves. I'm a young prophet who has aged in the sign of inferiority complex. This is
Thank you very
translation,
much.
translation by
Do you
Mahnaz.
have any more poems of your own that you want to read, John?
Yes, I have a poem of my own here.
Okay.
Forbidden thoughts for BAKTASH ABTIN. Forbidden thoughts. People want to hear only the proper lie, the acceptable lie, the comfortable lie. If I had the courage to say exactly what I mean, if I were to speak nothing but the plain, unvarnished truth to you, what would you say? We all know that secret place. We've all been there. The forbidden thought rising suddenly as if out of nowhere. The forbidden truth, the thought you are not allowed to think, much less say or write or publish. The forbidden truth, always lurking somewhere out of sight, no matter how hard you work to keep it down, far down, safe in the dark. Suddenly seeking light when you least expect it, threatening to jump out and sing its truth to the world. I didn't really say that. That isn't what I meant. It might slip out in casual conversation, in a cafe, over the phone, or at work, just when you thought it was safely hidden in the ambiguity of a joke, or in the subtle wording of a letter to the editor, or in the assonance and rhyme of a few lines in a poem. What if they report me? If I were to say exactly what I mean, if I were to speak the plain, unvarnished truth to you, what would I say? And what would you reply?
Thank you very much, John. Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you so much. And now we're going to have Agneta Falk, which everybody knows. Agneta is an international poet. She is a member of Revolutionary Poets Brigade. She is an artist and more. And I'm welcoming, Aggie doesn't need introduction. We all, I guess, know Aggie. So now I am going to read the Farsi version of the poem Aggie going to read. Also, Aggie is a Swedish-born poet. I forgot to say that. کلاهی بر سر آزادی، کلاه را از سر آزادی بر می دارم. نگاه کن کیست این گونه جان خود را به بازی گرفته باشد. به آسمان و دریا نگاه می کنم. غم انگیز و جذاب است دنیا. با این همه آیا اعتصاب شهاب سنگ ها و نهنگ ها شجاعانه نیست؟ Go ahead, Aggie.
I guess it's a hat for freedom. Is that the one?
Yes, yes, yes.
A hat for freedom. I'm going to take the hat off freedom. Look, who has taken his own life so lightly like this. I look at the sky and the sea. The world is tragic and fascinating. However, all these questions, the strike of meteors, stones, and whales, isn't bravery.
وطن، homeland. درختان با چشمانی سبز، کبوتران با کفنهایی سفید، و تو با گونه های سرخ. وطنم تابوت خورشید این گونه از شانه های آسمان بالا می افتد.
Homeland. Trees with green eyes, pigeons with white shrouds, and you with red cheeks, my homeland, the coffin of the sun. This is how it climbs from the shoulders of the sky, falls high.
مترجم گلوله چیست زبان و ترجمه جنگ چیست؟ چیست درد و ترجمه اشک چیست؟ انگشت اشاره ات را از ماشه بردار، سرباز ای مترجم گلوله، از تو حرف میزنم ای جنگ خشن. تو تمام زبانها را بند میآوری و بام با هر زبانی بغض انسان را میترکاند.
Bullet interpreter. What is language and what is the translation of war? What is pain and what is the translation of tears? Remove your index finger from the trigger, oh soldier, bullet interpreter. I'm talking about you, violent war. You tie up all the languages and bombs in any language, it is going to burst human grudges.
Thank you so much, Aggie. Is there any poem that you would like to read?
Yes, I'm going to read a short poem, very short, by myself and one of Jack's.
Thank you so much.
By the way, that is the most dangerous weapon in the world, the pen, as you all know. And actually, it is very dangerous to be a writer these days, more so to be a journalist, for example. There's so many journalists being killed all over the world, as well as poets. I mean, in Mexico, for example, it's a country where it's the most dangerous profession to have, is to be a journalist. My poem is very short, and it's the other side of, in a sense, speaking up. It's actually for those who have no voice. Do you know that silence that rises louder than a scream, that hurls itself against the wall of indifference, that silence which has had its tongue cut out, but never ever stops screaming. And this is from Jack's new book, hot off the press, out of Italy, The Little Kaddish. And it's a beautiful book, with lovely, lovely paintings in it too. I'm going to read the second poem in the book, called Vision. I came out of it knowing I had to learn death by heart. You showed me the lines in my very own brow. I was never very good at reading by heart. I need to have a score in my hand because I see now it was too much for me to memorize death. With a big open breath, I needed to bend and bow. I needed to run my tongue along the ground of the here and now and taste my son, who had died before he could know he'd be delivered in the form of a letter written in ink, invisible to everyone but me, and embrace me as I lift my eyes and raise my voice and say, I saw you there. It was impossible not to recognize you, and I embrace you in return. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aggie, for reading a poem of yours and Jack Presente. Jack will be in our life for a long time. to come. Our next poet is Lucian Mccurdy, and I'm so excited to introduce this young, amazing lady, which I invited her to be a member of Revolutionary Poets Brigade. We are working on a project together, Anthology of Love, which is going to be published maybe late 2022. Lucian Mccurdy is a poet from Northern California who lives in San Francisco and writes in English, French, and occasionally Spanish. She lived in Paris for 10 years, where she studied literature and theory and began the Biontic Review, a trilingual cross-cultural literary journal. She has also participated in Paris Poetry Brothel Open Secret, 100,000 Poets for Change, and many other things. And I'm welcoming Lucienne to Revolutionary Poets Brigade. We're going to talk about it with all of you in our next meeting and introduce her more. I'm going to read the first poem that Lucienne going to read. فنجان قهوه فنجان قهوه‌ای چشم‌های تو و این مایه نیمه کاره و موج‌های چسبیده بر جداره فنجان. نمیدانم این خط را که بگیرم به مداد چشم‌های تو میرسم یا به آینه شکسته‌ای که خورشید در آن برق میزد. اما این حجم سفید باید جای خالی آینه‌ای باشد که نبود تا زیبایی تو را تکرار کند. تا چشم کار می کند شب روی دریا موج می زند و این قایق بیهوش را حتما بادبان شکم گنده به اینجا آورده. نبض ماه لاغر در دست دریا و صدای مرغ‌های ماهی خوار در گوش ستاره‌های تماشاچی. دلشوره دریا و کلید گم شده ماهیگیر و این فال نیمه کاره. در گلوی این قفل باید کلیدی گیر کرده باشد. خمیازه را در دهانم چال کردم. Go ahead, Lucy.
The coffee cup, right?
Yes.
The coffee cup. The coffee cup of your eyes, this unfinished moon, and the adhered waves against the cup. I am not sure if I follow this line. Will I reach the pencil of your eyes, or a broken mirror in which the sun shines? But this white volume must be an empty presence of the mirror that did not exist to repeat your beauty. As far as the eyes can see, night waves on the sea, and this unconscious boat must have been brought here by big limbo sail. The pulse of the skinny moon in the hands of the sea, the sound of seagulls in the ears of the watchful stars, the anxious heart of the sea, the fisherman's lost key, and this unfinished fortune in the throat of this lock. There must be a key stuck. I have buried my yawn in my mouth.
مرمت انسان جهنم است بی تو زندگی ای شعر رویای مرمت انسان تو را می نویسم و در آستین تمام دنیا دنبال دستی می گردم که گلوله را به پرچمی سفید تبدیل کند شعبده‌ای چنین را دوست دارم. Good.
Oh, poetry, the dream for human restoration. I'll write you down, and in the sleeves of the whole world, I'm looking for a hand that transforms the bullets to a white flag. I love magic like this.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. And good to have you with us, Lucienne. We will see you
Thank
more,
you.
hopefully. Yes, thank you. Our next poet is Karen Melander-Magoon. Karen is a poet, singer, and a member of RPB. She is also a musician. She has spent her life trying to understand our globe. It is its geography and people, and that is reflected in her poetry and music. She lived in Paris, I believe, for 20 years, where she was opera singer, and she is a member of Revolutionary Poets Brigade, and she is the one that worked on our flyer. She made a flyer for this event. Thank you so much, Karen. And Karen will read her poems, I think. Go ahead, Karen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mahnaz, and thank you, everyone. Thank you for the Farsi poetry. That is so beautiful, and the gorgeous translations. Just been a very, very moving time to hear the poetry of BAKTASH ABTIN. Just amazing. So my poem, I have two poems. BAKTASH ABTIN, Iranian poet. BAKTASH ABTIN, Iranian poet, is dead, serving a 6-year sentence for criticizing the Iranian regime, attacked by COVID-19 in prison. He was in a coma several days, denied treatment, dying January 8, 2022. He follows many Iranian prisoners to their graves in an assault by the government to silence dissent. BAKTASH ABTIN is dead, the voice of a poet and filmmaker, winner of the PEN Award for Poetry, a voice for justice and truth, has been silenced. And this is more for all prisoners, political prisoners, for those whose voice has been silenced. We fight against betrayal. We fight for political prisoners in Iraq. We fight for prisoners detained without charge in Israel, for families whose homes have been bulldozed. We fight for political prisoners in Iran. We fight for prisoners held in the USA, in spite of the danger of COVID in close quarters. We fight for a future for all people to live in freedom. We fight against betrayal of humanity through incarceration, through torture, through war, through apartheid. We fight for liberation. We fight against hunger strikes by prisoners. We fight against imprisonment without charge, against imprisonment of minors, against injustice everywhere. We fight against betrayal of people through sanctions against governments, which deprive people of medical supplies, food, water, clothing. We ask instead to sanction individuals who cooperate with betrayal. We ask all to end the betrayal of humanity, to end the betrayal of ourselves and our children and all of Earth unto the next and last generations forever.
Thank you very much. Do you have more poem to read? No, that's it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Karen, especially for a beautiful flyer you made. I want to sincerely apologize from my friend, Deborah. I don't know how I missed because I'm going alphabetically. And I don't know how I can miss my special, beautiful friend, Deborah Major. Deborah Major is a poet, a writer, and she was a previous poet laureate of San Francisco. She published many collection of poetry, and right now she lives in, you live in Oakland, right? You live in Oakland. She's a very, very special poet, a special person. And again, I apologize for, I don't know how I missed it, because there was so many things that I was putting together, you know, Farsi, English, this, that. I sincerely apologize for that. So please go ahead, Deborah. Thank you so much.
Thank
Good
you,
to have you.
Mahnaz.
Thank you. Good to have you.
Thank you. Nice to be here. No need to apologize. I've been enjoying hearing all of it. I thought this was interesting because of how poets think alike. I picked this poem out, and it comes from the same place as the translation that Barbara read. But anyway, it's called Torture Song. Listen, can't you hear it? Pull the wires and plugs outside of your ear sockets. Can't you feel it? Cut through our wax delusion, a ragged scream pouring like hot oil inside and around our blistered spirits. Someone is screaming right now. Can't you hear the screams coming from that man, the one who is across the world and yet next door? His screams burn through dark, hooded, thick-walled, iron-bolted citadels. And when he screams, he is alone, except for the one who beats him, shackled and alone, except for the one who watches him get beaten, tortured and alone, except for us, who can hear him underneath the news reports in a corner of our memory. Someone is screaming at this moment. We can hear him weeping and begging and praying until he is stilled. And another takes his place, and another joins in, and another until their dissonant chords of their knotted howls begin to strangle us. Or maybe it is not those screams we are hearing. Maybe it is a mother screaming as her son is murdered on her doorstep. Or maybe it is his children, their waking and sleeping hours both wearing the same nightmare face. What I know for sure is someone is screaming right now. At this moment, someone is being tortured and reviled in the name of a country, or in the name of a God, or in the name of you or me. Someone is screaming. And if it's not us yelling back, calling out, if it's not you, if it's not me, screaming stop, screaming no more, screaming louder and louder until we are heard, until we have stopped this torture song, who will be left to hear, to listen, to care? I know you can hear it. We can all hear it. We can cover our ears or turn the music up higher, but the screams will not go away until we stop them. Someone is screaming right now. At this moment, hear them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Beautiful, beautiful poem. Do you have more poem to share for this event? Thank you very much. Thank you. Our next poet is our previous poet laureate of San Francisco, Kim Shuck. She's a poet and visual artist. She has had 8 solo books published and served, as I said, as San Francisco's 7th Poet Laureate. It's my honor to have Kim Shuck to read a few of the translations. I will start with the Farsi version. پیچیدگی، پیچیده است مرز، پیچیده است جغرافیا، جهان سوم مظلوم، فقیر، خشن، پیچیده است خودکشی دست جمعی نهنگ ها در ساحل، ساده است اما پاسپورت‌های خفه شده مهاجر در قایق‌ها، جهان سوم قربانی، ارزان است نان و مرگ در تو. ای کاش تلسکوپ ها به جای مریخ به کشف تو بر می‌خواستند. جهان سوم زخمی، غمگین، مرگ‌آلود. Okay, the first poem, complex. Kim.
Complex. Order is complicated. Geography is complicated. Third world, oppressed, poor, violent, sophisticated mass suicide of whales on the beach. It's simple, but suffocated migrant passports and boats, third world sacrifice. Bread is cheap and death in you. I wish telescopes were instead of Mars. They'd rise to your discovery. The third world is wounded, sad, covered with death.
Thank you. فرضیه. به فرض زمین بچرخد دور خورشید. به فرض شعبده باز فصلها را جابجا کند. به فرض بهار بیاید و چمدان لباسهای زمستانی را به قطار برساند. وقتی تو نیستی چه فرقی می کند ساعتها را جلو ببریم یا عقب بکشیم؟ Hypothesis.
Hypothesis. Assuming the earth rotates around the sun, assuming magician moves seasons, assuming spring comes and the luggage takes winter clothes to the train. When you don't exist, what difference does it make to turn the clock back or forth?
Thank you very much. Our next poet is a very special person that for so many years hosted Revolutionary Poets Brigade events in her house. And that special person is none but Dorothy Payne. Dorothy Payne is an international educator, poet, culture critic, and painter who has published in various anthologies and performed her poetry throughout the United States and in 3 continents. She is a long-standing member of the Revolutionary Poets Brigade. Her book, Birthmark, was published by New Native Press. And here we go, Dottie. Dottie, are you reading my translation or no? Your own poem, right?
I'm reading my own poem, yes.
Yes, go ahead. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mahnaz. Good to see you and everyone else.
Yes.
Will soon be back in San Francisco in the flesh. My poem is a call and response. And the call is one you may have heard before. It was apparently composed by an anonymous child from Gaza. The response is mine. If truth had a tongue, all of your armies, all of your fighters, all of your tanks, all of your soldiers against a boy holding a stone, standing there all alone. In his eyes, I see the sun. In his smile, I see the moon. And I wonder, I only wonder, who is weak and who is strong, who is right and who is wrong. And I only wish the truth had a tongue. A child from Gaza. But truth has a tongue. It was David Walker's appeal when he asked, when shall we arise from this death-like apathy? It was Jose Marti's when he declared, everything that divides men is a sin against humanity. It was Toussaint's tongue that defiantly claimed the gun is liberty. When you no longer have it, you will be returned to slavery. Truth's tongue was Victor Jara's guitar, Corky Gonzalez's Atalan, and Che Guevara's love song to revolution. Truth has always had a tongue, like a hammer hitting the roof of a fascist's mouth, like a Molotov in Angela Davis's warning, I am no longer accepting what I can change, is the weapon strapped on Fidel's virulent hip. Truth has a tongue. It speaks like Ho Chi Minh washing dishes in Harlem kitchen, like Tanya, Sophie Scholl, and the Trung sisters, is Assange's standoff with the masters of imperialist deception, is Mumia, Peltier, and all those incarcerated children, is the Ukrainian resistance hunkered in. Truth's tongue refuses muteness, no matter the consequence, is the death of compliance, the rage in the streets as the horrors of war commit atrocities to silence it. Is BAKTASH ABTIN's propaganda against the system, his collusion with the truth in the world, his tally marks on the walls, the 72 deaths in Tehran's prison. Truth has a tongue. It is the Palestinian child calling on the world to protect him. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dorothy. It was wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Our next poet is a special voice in San Francisco that I love his voice, and that's why I gave one of my videos that I made for Jack. I gave it to Greg Pound to read it because he has a beautiful voice and he's a great poet. Greg was born in Brooklyn to Panamanian parents and has written 4 books of poetry. He's a member of Revolutionary Poets Brigade and a board member at Clarion Performing Arts Center and facilitator of Poetically Speaking, a weekly conference called Program for Seniors. He currently resides in San Francisco. Here is our Greg.
Thank you, Mahnaz. Hello, everybody. I've got 2 poems. Freedom. Where does freedom hide? Is it under the robe of justice, never to see the light? Where does freedom fly? Is it beneath the flag of slavery or veil of genocide? Where does freedom shine? Is it behind the cloak of liberty where no one can know its strife? Where does freedom cry? Is it into the tissue of tyranny where hopes and dreams have died? How does freedom survive? By finding its way into the hearts of those willing to keep hope alive. Poem for BAKTASH ABTIN. Whenever they don't like the things you say, They try to shut you up, then they shut you down and make you pay the highest cost, your freedom's lost. When you dare to speak, wrong time, wrong place. They mute you into silence with a 6-year sentence, then send you to waste away. One day, they give COVID a key and directions to your cell to steal your voice so that you can no longer tell the truth of their repressive ways. They make you suffer and wait without medical care until you are too weak to walk, too frail to fight, but strong enough to shine a light on a regime that uses fear and tyranny to strangle any attempts that express free thought, free will, or free speech. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Greg. Thank you. Our last poet on the list that we have is Kathleen Williams. Kathleen didn't send me any bios, but I know she's a good, great poet, and she's a member of Revolutionary Poets Brigade. And I had the pleasure to see her many times and hear her beautiful voice reading her poetry. Kathleen, go ahead. Nice to have you here on this event. Lisbit, is Kathleen there? She wasn't actually sure if she is going to be able to make it.
She just logged back in, and I just asked her to unmute, but she's got a picture up in her place, so I'm not sure.
Okay. So we can ask the people in a waiting room to read a poem in our, extra time. We are going to have extra 5 minutes time. I'm sure everyone is now ready to go have a cup of coffee. Thank you so much, everyone. It was a very special event honoring BAKTASH ABTIN. And thank you for Dariush from Germany participating in this event. Thank you all. I am going to ask Faride. Is Faride there? Faride John. What are you going to do? Are you going to read in Farsi or English? Farsi میخونی?
Oh, no, I am not reading poetry. No, just
listen.
Yeah, just listen. And I really enjoy the program. I was wondering, where can I get the copy of this? Because, Iranian, diaspora probably should know, of this program. That was very beautiful program with the, the poetry and everything. I wish, I could have some of them, put it in the social media.
Thank you so much for asking this question. A few more people just asked me that. John is recording the event. So we are gonna edit it, make it more even beautiful, and it will be on YouTube. And if you wanna contact me, my last name, Badihian, @gmail.com. You can contact me.
Okay, and my email is fp2205 Gmail.
Okay.
Yeah, I will send you an email. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Also, Lisbit, we have a few more people, Bruce and Kate. Are those people wanting to read something, their poems, or say something? Let me know.
I would like to. The Kate is on the computer. My name is Ray. I'm using that. I would like to read a poem by BAKTASH.
Okay, what can you give us just in one sentence, tell us you're a poet, you're a writer, artist, or just art lover? Just tell us who you are a little bit.
I live in the Bay Area, and I feel so sad that I never knew this many beautiful people who are actually on this panel right now. And I am so thrilled to be among you and be hearing all this poetry about beloved BAKTASH. It is just amazing. My gratitude to all of you. You perform with love and passion and dignity. And this is just amazing. I am not a poet. I love poem. I love poetry. I'm not translator, but I translated this poem as well. But I would like to share it with you just because the kind of day we are gathering around.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. This is very short poem by BAKTASH, and I came a couple minutes late. If you have read this already, that's okay.
Yes.
پرسید شغل گفتم شاعرم خندید و کف دستم را مهر زد روی برگه اعزام به بیمارستان افسر نگهبان شغلم را آزاد نوشته بود خندیدم چگونه یک زندانی میتواند شغلش آزاد باشد محبوبم به تو فکر میکنم به تو که میدانی شاعرم و دوست داشتن تو شغل تمام وقت من است. That was a Farsi version of that, which just moved me about the tremendous love that BAKTASH basically expressed all around wherever he was, even on his death. I'm reading a translation of that. The problem of the translation is mine, not BAKTASH's. Ask your job. I said, poet. The guard stamped my hand and laughed at me. And on my paper to the hospital, he wrote, his job, free, which here means freelance, but wrote it free. I laughed and I told to myself how a prisoner's job could be free. My dear, my love, I am thinking of you. To you who knows that I am a poet and loving you is my full-time job. BAKTASH ABTIN.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to have you here. That was a surprise guest. I didn't know another Iranian person gonna be so wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And thanks. And if we have time later on, there is also a poem just came about the Evin prison by Khosrow Sadeghi Burujani. This is written about death of BAKTASH. If we have time later on, I would read that as well.
And how big is the poem?
And I'm honored to be here.
Thank you. How big is the poem? Is it 1 page, 2 page? What is it?
It's 2 page. It's a poem and actually also communication with us.
So it is in English?
I have it Farsi, but also I have the English translation as well.
Okay.
So if we have time, we would.
If all your poets don't mind, I'm just going to ask him to read the English version of it for us. Is it okay with you guys? The meeting is done. This is just extra time. Anybody has something going on, they want to leave, you're more than welcome. Okay, لطفاً انگلیسیشو بخونید برامون فقط.
Okay. The death of BAKTASH ABTIN, a celebration of speculators and clowns. Many flowers that have been taken away. I'm not scattered in petals of saddened memories of fallen flowers. I do not believe that loved ones die. Every time a comrade, a friend, or my loved one leaves us, the warm and catchy voice of Siyavesh Kasrai resonates in my head. The poem Believe and the story and the destiny of a generation whose voice was silenced forever in the twists and turns of unknown and unnamed roads, unconnected, unachieved, before singing their freedom songs. My heart does not believe in its own death. No, I do not believe in this certainty. as long as the breath of life is my companion, dying does not preoccupy my mind. How do flowers crumble to dust and dirt? How come all these seedlings of new dreams, yet unopened flowers, yet not tested the spring, wither in my soul and turns to dust? So many promises, so many wishes still unfulfilled, so many longings, so many prayers, hands towards day and night left unanswered. What does happen to all those wishes unachieved? How come so many countless lovers displaced from their land, one day silently, their lives end at the crossroad of the life? Should I believe that all those girls full of joy for future never reach the hand of their loved ones, awaiting above the rooftops and next to the windows, end up to wear their black shawls? I do not believe that grave can bury the love forever. Till rebellious flowers rise up from beneath the ground, should I believe that one day the heart stop beating? Curse on this lie. This is scary lie. BAKTASH was a poet. In my country, poets are killed because they fulfill footsteps of the God with the syllabus of beauty and the truth. They killed Farrokhi Yazdi and Khosrow Gul Surkhi and Saeed Sultanpur were kidnapped in his wedding night to beat him and kill him because he had poetically written what has happened to my country. BAKTASH was independent filmmaker. In my country, independent filmmakers are also killed so that they do not depict human suffering as they did take Keramatullah Danishian to the slaughterhouse and broke heart of Sohrab Shahid in exile. BAKTASH ABTIN was a member of the Writers Association of Iran. In my country, they kill intellectuals, just as they put a wire around Puyende and Mukhtar's throat so that Puyende would not translate history and class consciousness. In his small rented room, nor a Mukhtari would not commit man in the contemporary poetry, so that Majid Sharif would not talk about the rebellious woman, and Ahmad Mir Alayi do not recite Octave of Peace, and Ahmad Tawassuli should not dwell on the history of myth of our ancestors. In my country, BAKTASH is killed so that the speculators and clowns can breathe easier, so they can hold each other's hands and auction up their junks without the sharp razor of their critics, the junks that has no signs of humanity or liberation. In my country, BAKTASH is killed because the video is more destructive than the atomic bomb. And they sniff your mouth to make sure that you, on high intoxication, do not speak of love and beauty and not be allowed to say, I love you. They smell your mouth to stop you saying that. But as long as you love me, as long as I love you, until the time that our tears fall on our faces in joy, as long as there is one in this world who cares about the life, how could death erase my name from the memory of your life? Khosrow Sadeghi Burjani, January 11, Evin Prison. Thank you.
Thank you so much. With this, I just call the end of our today's beautiful session honoring and remembering BAKTASH ABTIN. I hope everyone enjoyed it. And as I said, this is recorded and it's going to be on Facebook. And if anybody wants direct, doesn't have Facebook or whatever, I have my email over there. They can contact me. I will send them the video. Thank you very much. Thank you, Lisbit. Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure to have all of you here. Thank you so much.
Really nice event.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye. You guys have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mahnaz. Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you.